You are listening to the Vet Podcast, presented by veterinarian Dr. Brian Greger from New Zealand. Join us as we discuss pet health issues from around the world.
Well, what a different world we are all living in at the moment. New Zealand has just gone into lockdown, or will be by the time you listen to this. The buzz phrase seems to be flatten the curve. The principles the New Zealand authorities are using certainly make sense. New Zealand is in a lot better position than much of the world, with only 100 and something cases, all but 2 in people returning from overseas, so very limited community transmission and, thankfully, no deaths yet. The borders are now closed, and everyone who has returned home, one of my daughters included, are in isolation. Theoretically, within 12 to 14 days, if everybody isolates and respects the lockdown, New Zealand should be in a lot better position and hopefully only minimal new cases. Anyway, this is a veterinary podcast, so let's swing it back to its roots. A big question that we are being asked is, can we catch the virus from our pets? The short answer is, we don't know for sure, but probably not. There is only very limited evidence companion animals such as cats and dogs can be infected with COVID-19, and no evidence they can transmit the infection to other humans or animals. However, a cautious approach is still recommended. This does not mean get rid of the pet. Unfortunately, here in New Zealand, there is an increase in animals being left at shelters. Not only is this not necessary, but it is also putting extra pressure on the staff who are already under the pump. So what does a cautious approach mean? Well, basic hygiene really. If you are infected yourself with COVID-19, you are best to avoid contact with animals in the household. If you do need to provide care, wash your hands before and after feeding, and perhaps wear a face mask. As a general rule for the whole population, simply avoid contact with unfamiliar pets, and again, remember good hygiene. For completeness, I have included the World Small Animal Veterinary Association, or WASAVA's media release from the 20th of March at the end of the podcast, which in a nutshell states that there is no evidence that COVID-19 can be contracted from pets. So there you go, wash your hands and don't dump the dog. Remember also, if friends or family are infected with the virus, is their pet being looked after? The other matter I will touch on is what is happening to veterinary services. I'm unable to comment in specifics for clinics around the world, but needless to say, if they can be open, they will. There are a few protocols in place that seem to be universal. Most clinics are only open for emergency cases. All routine calls and surgery are being put off until a later date. Please don't contact your vet for a nail trim. Many practices seem to be offering a telemedicine service, and from there deciding whether the animal needs to be seen or not. If they do need to be seen, don't be surprised if the clinic is locked and a tech or nurse will take the animal from you in the car park and have the consultation via telephone. If you do require veterinary service or products, call your clinic to ascertain what arrangements they are making to help their clients. They will most likely not appreciate you just rocking up. Please be patient with your veterinary support. They are putting their health on the line for the health of your pet. And for the animal health professionals still working, thank you all very much for your continued skill and empathy. Please look after yourself. As those of us who deal with disease outbreaks in one way or another realise, all outbreaks will peak, then decline in time. For all of our sakes, let's hope this is soon for COVID-19. So if you're still with us, here is a pretty well verbatim reading of the World Small Animal Veterinary Association's press release regarding the possibility of humans contracting COVID-19 from pet animals. The World Small Animal Veterinary Association has moved to reassure pet owners following the news that a dog in Hong Kong quarantined after it had tested positive for SARS-CoV-2, which is the COVID-19 virus, has died. The dog had been released after 2 weeks of quarantine, having subsequently tested negative for the virus. The dog, a 17-year-old Pomeranian, had shown no clinical signs of COVID-19. However, it did have unrelated health problems and is believed to have passed away from old age. There is no evidence that the dog contracted COVID-19, nor that it could have passed the viral cause to another human or animal. On March the 19th, the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department in Hong Kong announced a second dog, a German Shepherd, had also tested positive for the SARS-CoV-2. The dog was quarantined after its owner was confirmed with COVID-19. Although the dog has a positive test, it has no clinical signs of disease. Another dog from the same residence has tested negative for SARS-CoV-2. It also has no relevant clinical signs and has been quarantined. The dog will continue to be tested for the remainder of the quarantine period. WASAVA President Dr. Shane Ryan said, "While there is still much we don't know about COVID-19, we do know that the Pomeranian dog did not die from the virus. And the second dog is also showing no signs, either of the disease or being able to transmit it to other pets or animals." The current evidence still strongly indicates that COVID-19 cannot be contracted from pets. The WASAVA says its priority is to support its member veterinarians who care for the companion animals around the world, and it urges pet owners not to panic and instead to continue to care for their companion animals and to enjoy their company. In difficult times such as these we face today, says the WASAVA, pets can play a very positive role, providing companionship to the isolated and lonely. Dr. Michael Lappin, Chair of WASAVA's One Health Committee, and Dr. Mary McCondies, Co-Chair of WASAVA Scientific Advisory Committee, recommended that veterinarians remind the owners to keep their companion animals with them if they are self-quarantined, maintain good hygiene practices including washing hands when interacting with their pets, arrange care for any animals left at home with family or friends should they be hospitalised, and contact their veterinarian immediately if they have any questions or concerns. On March the 13th, IDEX Laboratories, an international provider of veterinary diagnostics and software, announced that it had evaluated thousands of canine and feline samples during the validation of a new veterinary testing system for SARS-CoV-2 and seen no positive results. Dr. Ryan continued, "We remain very concerned at reports of many animals being abandoned, killed or taken to shelters because their owners fear that they might be carrying the virus when this is not supported by evidence. In addition to the suffering this causes the animals concerned, their owners will also cease to benefit from all the positive aspects of owning a pet, which are even more important as so many of us are now having to limit our contact with people. We urge pet owners to listen to their veterinarian's advice and to follow our recommendations to keep themselves and their companion animals safe."
You have been listening to the Vet Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, iTunes, Google Play, or bookmark us in your favourite podcast player. To contact us, message through Facebook or email vetpodcast@gmail.com.